So this stop, we're at Many Parks Curve in Rocky Mountain National Park. And there's a number of things we can see here. One of which is we can see Long's Peak, the highest peak in Colorado, a little over 14,000 feet. We can see some of the glacial features left after the glaciers retreated from their maximum at about 20,000 years ago. And we can see significant beetle kill at this location as well. So let's first focus in on Long's Peak, which is the prominent peak that we see in the image right here, of course. And it is a horn, and a horn is a peak that has had glaciers erode at its base on many sides. And so the most prominent glaciated valley that we can see is the one onto the right along here. And what that also forms is an arête, which is a rocky ridge left after glacial erosion. And we can see that coming down on the right front face as we look at Long's Peak. So that's an arête there. So what we can also see from Many Parks Curve is Moraine Park, which is this grassy area right in here. And Moraine Park is called Moraine Park because it has two prominent lateral moraines on either side. And so from another stop, we learned about moraines, and those are piles of till, which is glacially transported material. And moraines are ridges typically that form on the sides of glaciers, but you can have things called ground moraines that form at the base of glaciers. And so the two prominent lateral moraines we can see is this treed ridge right here on the north side of Moraine Park, and then on the south side we see this ridge as well, which is the other lateral moraine. And so at about 20,000 years ago, this glacier was at its maximum extent, and it was being fed by cirques off to the right and flowed down this way and stopped at Eagle Cliff Mountain, which is this mountain right here. And so at 20,000 years ago, Moraine Park was filled with glacier ice, and this lateral moraine and this lateral moraine was built by that glacier. For a sense of scale here, the far lateral moraine, that is about 700 feet in height difference between the base of Moraine Park and its top. And that gives you a good indication that there was about 700 feet thickness of ice when the glacier was at its maximum extent. And the last thing to make note here is we can see the trees. And you can see that there's lots of dead trees as well. And there's dead trees because of an outbreak of the pine beetle. The pine beetle is a native beetle species found in this area of Colorado and throughout the West. And in recent years, winters haven't been as cold as they typically are. And it's the winters that kills many of the adult pine beetles. And when not as many adult pine beetles are killed every year in the winter, it means you have more adults the following year, which means you have more beetles in general. And those beetles burrow into the pine trees, which lead to a fungus infection and death of the tree. And most susceptible are adult trees. Smaller trees, because of higher sap flow, typically do not die from infestations. And we know about climate change, which has led to these more mild winters and less beetle kill in the winter. And we know that humans are the cause of that, predominantly because of fossil fuel burning, which puts more CO2 in the atmosphere, which leads to higher global temperatures. And from here, we'll look at a time series of photos that I've taken from Many Parks Curve showing the progression of death of trees, and then trees begin to fall down. And in some areas, trees have been selectively cut out as well by the Park Service.